Hi everyone and welcome back. It's Mindy for Pink and Main, and today I'm sharing a card that I created using one of the new stamp sets, and that is called Pink Avenue, and this is from the April 2018 release from Pink and Main. So this is the stamp set that I'm using. This has a lot of great elements on it for some scene building, some really cute little houses, trees, shrubs, mailbox, lamppost, and then it also has coordinating dies to go with all of the elements as well. So another really great set and totally adorable name for a stamp set. So for whatever reason, I decided to stamp and die cut my houses out. I don't remember what I was thinking on this day, but when I'm coloring, especially for these smaller of images, I don't like to have small pieces to color on. So what I'm going to do, and this is something that you could do with yours too if you like to die cut your things out, is I placed it back into the piece of paper that I die cut them. So I'll just line that back up with the hole, and I'm using some Post-it note tape to hold those in place. That way it's almost like I have them back on a full sheet of cardstock again, and that'll hold it while I can do some Copic coloring. I did use Neenah solar weight cardstock for this, and that's 80 pound, and I did stamp it in a Copic friendly ink, and I will have my supplies listed down below and on my blog as well. So I have those ready for some Copic coloring, and this took me a little bit to figure out. So because all of the trees and the plant and things like that are all on one die, I was trying to figure out how I can stamp them so that they cut out where I need it to be, because it's all one piece there for these three plants. They're not all separate. So I'm using my MISTI tool. I'm holding that die down with some Post-it note tape, and then I lined up each stamp, and you can feel it kind of just slide into its place. And then I could close the door to the MISTI, pick those up, and so those are going to stamp in the exact place that I need them to die cut. So like I said, that took me a little bit to figure out. But anyway, these stamped out perfectly. And I actually stamped these twice. I did some on each side because I wasn't sure how many trees that I needed. So I just did a couple. They're small and really easy to color up, so I can always save any extra off on the side for another project if I need to. So I did stamp those in a Copic friendly ink as well. And now I can take that die and place it over, and those line up perfectly. So that'll be ready for me to slide on into my die cutting machine. And this Post-it note tape is really great because it's not going to tear your paper. I haven't yet had any problems with it. So now when I remove the die, these cut out perfectly. And the way I have them, they pop out really easy. So I ran this through once, removed the die, flipped it to the other side, ran those through, and then when I was ready, they just pop right on out. And so then I'm doing the same thing. I'm just taking my Post-it note tape and laying that over the back of my images so that they'll stay on this sheet while I Copic color. All right, so now I'm coming with my Copic markers, and like I said, there are some really small spots in here. So I did speed this video up quite a bit because I did color all of the houses, even though I only used 2 of them. And I did not worry about the shading too much. I really didn't get carried away. I tried a couple different shadowing techniques, like on the roof here, you can see I'm going under each of those, what are they, like scalloped tiles on the roof. I tried that out for shading, but that became really tedious. You really wouldn't need to even do that. I used the same colors on all of the roofs, so I left that all the same. Just kind of helped me save some time picking colors out. I tried to add a little bit of shading off on the sides and around the edges just to give these images some dimension so that they didn't look flat. So I did try and add some shading in there, and I kind of just did some random colors. Like I said, I had an idea what I was going to be doing. I knew I wanted to kind of have that landscape look, and I already had my paper picked out that I wanted to use, which is from the Beach Babe paper pack. So I was keeping those bright, cheerful colors in mind when I was coloring the houses. Another thing you could do, which I wanted to attempt, I just happened to grab the Copic markers at the time, but Zig markers would probably work really well for this because they have a really fine brush tip to them. Copic markers do have a nice fine tip, but the markers kind of bleed into the cardstock, whereas the zig markers, it's a brush style. So it actually would be a lot easier probably to get in some of the nook and crannies. So that's another option, or colored pencils. I'm just not real comfortable yet with colored pencils, but otherwise that would definitely be an option too that you could use. And sharpen your pencils real nice and sharp, and you can really get into those small spots and come out with some really great shading too. So I'm just finishing up doing the doors, all the roofs on the houses. And now I'm just coming in, like I said, I tried to keep my colors fairly simple. I didn't want to have a bazillion markers all over my desk. So I did this first house in pink, added some real basic shading with my dark color, and then blending that out to the lightest. I think my darkest areas I put like under the roof and off on the side of the door, maybe on the bottom of the house, just to add that little bit of dimension. So I have the pink, the blue, just adding in some yellow for my windows. And this house I just did in like a light purple. So I just kind of had that variety in there. And I did do a yellow house, which I actually kind of regretted doing the yellow. I think it looked really great, but then when I got to my windows, I wasn't really sure what to color the inside of my windows. So that one, but I mean, the heavy yellow house looks really cute. And like I said, these are really great for scene building. There's so many things in that stamp set that you could use, little lamp posts. I think there's a car in there, mailboxes you could put to. So there's a lot of great images you can use to build up your city, your house, whether it's out in the country or maybe your block. These are great for welcoming new families to your neighborhood. So those are some other great ideas for them. You could do some masking when it comes to that. I just did a straight scene where I just die cut all my images out to add to my card. So now I'm just coming in and finishing up adding the yellow to the windows, making it look like the lights are on. And just finishing that up. So now all the images are colored, and I can head over and start doing the trees and this little bush. And same thing here, I kept these really simple when it comes to coloring. I added some brown in there. I think I only used 2 colors for the trunks of the trees. And for the greens that I use, which I'll have all of these colors listed on my personal blog too, but I went in with my lightest color and then just kind of went around with my darkest. Like I said, I wasn't too worried about the shading. I just wanted to add a little bit of dimension to the images themselves. So get those, and then I can finish off on the other set. And these trees are so cute. They really are. Coming in with that darker color and then blending out with the lightest. So I have a little bit of highlight in the middle of the tree. All right, those are all set, so I can just remove that Post-it tape. And like I said, these will just pop right on out. And they're just the cutest. And same thing with the houses. I'm just going to go ahead and remove that Post-it tape. It's not ripping any of my paper. So this worked out really, really well. And there is my little houses. Okay, to put the card together, I kept the rest of this fairly simple. So here was kind of the idea that I had. So I made this hillside with some cilantro cardstock, and I used the Scalloped Waves die to create that stitched hill. I'm using some pattern paper from the Beach Babe paper pack, which is from Pink and Main. These were just some really nice, bright, cheerful colors. And then I have a strip of white cardstock and this blue. I'm sorry, I grabbed it from my scraps, so I don't know what color this is, but it looked really great with the green hillside that I had. So I used that for my sky. And there are also a lot of great sentiments on here. So this one's kind of a 2-part. I decided to go with congrats on your new home. And you have congrats on your new is the first part of the sentiment, which is what I went ahead and stamped using the MISTI tool. So I just pushed my green cardstock. I'm actually going to push it all the way to the top. And then I can come in with my MISTI corners and help straighten that sentiment out. And like I said, I'm adding the word home. That was a separate stamp that you can add to any of the other sentiments on this set too, but it was too much for this corners, so I'm going to stamp that separately. So I'm just coming in with some black ink, adding in that sentiment, and then I'll come in with the home and line that up too, so I can have congrats on your new home. And since I had so much going on as far as the houses being separate, I just stamped that right on the cardstock instead of adding another element to the card. And then I can just go ahead and get everything lined up, getting my card put together, and then getting the houses added on. So like I said, a really great stamp set. The name itself is super adorable, and there's a lot of other great sets that came out in this release for Pink and Main, so I hope you head to their website and check it out. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please go ahead, give it a big thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so and you want to see more of my creations. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.